In a world under constant threat from apocalyptic disaster, heroes and monsters clash in a battle of absurdity and power. But the key to every single superhuman ability in One Punch Man, from the weakest monster to the strongest hero, lies in a singular biological concept, the limiter. This is the hidden lore of the biological horror that creates monsters. Fate. The secret to Saitama's impossible strength, and the terrifying concept that controls all life in the OPM universe. We are diving deep into the biological ceiling placed on all life, the two terrifying paths to breaking it, and the existential consequences of becoming a god. The biological ceiling. The concept of the limiter. The limiter is a conceptual and biological boundary placed on every living organism by God or the natural laws of the universe. It is a fail-safe mechanism designed to prevent any living creature from achieving power that exceeds the limits of its own species. The limiter ensures that no matter how hard a human trains, they will eventually plateau at a specific physical limit. Breaking this limiter is the only way to attain transcendent power. And there are two primary, fundamentally different ways this occurs in the OPM world. Path 1. The chaos of monsterization. The vast majority of monsters in the OPM universe are created through a phenomenon called monsterization. This process is driven not by science, but by deep, obsessive psychological urges, desires, or traumas. Process. A human becomes so overwhelmingly obsessed with a single concept: power. Revenge, a specific hobby that their body physically mutates to match that obsession. This psychological pressure forces their limiter to break, transforming them into a chaotic, often grotesque, monster. Examples. Crablonte was a man obsessed with crabs. The transformation reflected his obsession. 2. This process often involves intense pain and a loss of humanity. The consumption of monster cells is a shortcut to this process, amplifying the psychological trigger. This path results in power, but it is a chaotic power, bound by the initial obsession, and often leads to a quick, violent end. Path 2. Saitama's path to the void. Saitama, the titular One Punch Man, broke his limiter through sheer, monotonous, and disciplined effort. His legendary training regimen, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10 kilometers run every day was not inherently special. What was special was his absolute, unyielding dedication, pushing himself past the point of physical collapse for 3 years. Result: by forcing his body to constantly regenerate and push past all physical limits, Saitama removed his limiter entirely. He achieved a power state that is absolute and unbounded. Consequent: the cost of this limitless power was the loss of his emotional drive and the psychological thrill of combat, symbolized by his dull expression and perpetual apathy. T is a tragic figure, a cosmic anomaly who has traded his human struggle for divine boredom. According to Dr. Genus, Saitama achieved this state through an almost spiritual sacrifice of his own humanity for power. The cosmic horror. Genus's warning Dr. Genus of the House of Evolution concluded that the entire hero association, the concept of monsterization, are mere symptoms of the Limiter'S fate. His belief is that once the limiter is broken, whether through monsterization or discipline, the being enters a realm of existential horror, forcing them into conflicts that perpetually escalate into global threats, disaster levels, dragon, and God. 2. The true lore of OPM is that power is not earned, it is an escape hatch from the natural order, and that escape comes at a terrible price, be it humanity, sanity, or the joy of life itself. The lore of One Punch Man is a philosophical commentary on ambition, sacrifice, and the search for meaning in a world where power is limitless and arbitrary. Understanding the biological ceiling of the limiter is key to grasping the existential comedy and cosmic horror of the series. If you could break your limiter, would you risk the psychological horror of monsterization or the emotional apathy of Saitama's path? What is the limiter on your own potential? Share your theories in the comments below. ends. For more deep dives into the absurd and deep lore of anime, be sure to like and subscribe to Anime Lore Nexus.